All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. My guest this hour, X Zone Nation, is Cathryn McIntyre. She is a natural psychic and clairvoyant and author of 2 books about her experience living as a psychic in the historic town of Concord, Massachusetts. She is also an astrologer, a UFO experiencer, and an occasional ghost hunter. A blog McIntyre wrote about one of her investigations in Boothbay Harbor, Maine, got the attention of author Greg Latimer, who investigated and validated McIntyre's findings and included in the story in his book, Ghosts of Boothbay Region. Joining us now is Cathryn McIntyre. And Cathryn, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Rob. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice having you with us. So tell us more about yourself and what it was that got you onto your path to doing what you're doing now.
Okay, well, that's a big question. Well, I grew up in Michigan, actually, so I'm excited to talk to someone in Ontario because I have a lot of memories of Ontario. Grew up as a psychic kid and in a household that didn't believe in such things, really. And so it was always a challenge to kind of come to terms with this ability that I had and what the things I was hearing, seeing,
right?
And that were affecting me in my reality, including alien experiences as a kid, which I later had to process, kind of. But I grew up with this notion that, I was always going to live in Boston, and I knew it from the time I was about 12, began telling my mother this, and just had this strong desire to be in this area. And eventually, when I was done with school in Michigan, I got in the car and drove out, and this is where I've been since. And it's been an evolution to kind of figure out why I had come here, and it finally all came together for me in the last, say, 10, 15 years, I guess, now. Wow. Since, the connection to Thoreau became more clear, and I began to channel him, which is what my latest book is about, called The Thoreau Whisperer.
All right. Before we talk about that, I'd like to hear about your other experiences with the paranormal. For example, your alien encounter or your alien visitation, was it?
Well, I had the classic UFO, alien experience when I was a kid in Michigan, and, the waking up during the night and,
right.
Seeing, feeling kind of frozen on the bed and being aware of these small beings, kind of next to the bed. And I had a moment of kind of calling out to my mother and having her come into the room finally. But before she came in, I psychically saw these things kind of scatter. So she comes into the room, and I'm like a 7-year-old babbling at her about how one of them's in the dining room, Mom, one's in the closet, and one's, and she's like, what are you talking about? And, just like, go back to sleep. You're having a crazy dream.
Wow.
But it really wasn't a crazy dream. It was a reality. And it took me years to really figure out that was real. But of the many experiences that I had as a kid that my mother had a habit of telling me weren't real, that one stood out as I knew it was real. And it was years later, I was out here in the Boston area, and in my 30s, an Art Bell show had, come on, and so the world had changed a lot. This was like in the 90s. I discovered Art Bell and began to hear a lot of people talking about the kind of things I'd experienced, and I began to realize, I'm not the only one, and I'm not crazy. And I began to investigate that particular experience at that time. And
were you ever able to come to any conclusions or closures about that experience?
I guess yes. It took really several years and a lot of kind of coming to terms with first that it was real.
Yes.
And then what did it mean to me in my life, and what did it mean in general that I could have that experience, or that I could have all these others that I'd had. What does that mean to be psychic? What does it mean to be able to connect to spirit in the way that I do? And I think that's a lot of my,
Sure. What was
path.
What was it like the first time you connected with spirit?
That was, I think that was going on my whole childhood. It was just so classically, I could just always sense it around me. I could see things. I would know people. This was a good one. I would tend to know when people were going to pass, and I'm not even sure how I knew, but I would know. And I would go to my mother and be like, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen. I knew. It was just a constant stream of this kind of stuff." And I realized later, when I think of it all these years later and all the things I've gone through, is that it comes down to me, it's consciousness. It's that we are conscious beings. We are spiritual beings inhabiting these physical bodies. And I know everybody says this all the time, but really that's so true. And when you are aware of that and you're really highly conscious, you
Right.
pick up all kinds of stuff, because you're picking up those things that exist in those realms that aren't physical, or that know how to manipulate them, and kind of.
But Cynthia, it must be so hard for you and so tiring. Like if you're here, there, and everywhere all at the same time.
Well, it's just you
Wow.
have to learn how to protect yourself against it, and at least I did.
Yeah.
And what you're willing to accept and what you're not. I for years went through difficulty sleeping because of the dreams. Call them dreams. The dream travel, essentially. Wow. And I wouldn't have a lot of control over what I was encountering in dreams. So I'm out there in the astral just picking up all kinds of crap. Really sort of going into the bad side of town.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, okay, I need to learn not to do that, or I somehow need to protect myself from that, or get an answer to why are they coming for me? Why do I have to have these, battles in my dreams just to come out of them? And that was a big deal for a long, long time. And I just think, again, it's when you have that ability to slip into that realm, and until you learn how to drive that car you're in over there, you're going to encounter a lot of stuff. And they're going to see you coming.
Why is it some people have the ability and the gift that you have, and other people are just as thick as bricks?
I don't know. Like, why can some people paint and other people can't? And why can I write the way I do and other people can't do this? And I don't know. I think we all have gifts. We all have abilities, and maybe this is one of them. Or I mean, maybe as simple as that. I think everybody has the potential for it.
Yes.
Certainly, we all have had these experiences, maybe, just to varying degrees. So I think everybody has the ability. It's just to, how much or how little or how much time we put to it.
And I would imagine how, for example, I'm sure there are people listening tonight all over the world who have had the psychic impressions, the psychic visions, and the gift like you have, but because of the negativity of the people around them, they have been forced to shut it down because you know what? It's just their imaginations. It's not real.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what I lived with.
My
for
God.
Years.
Hey, listen, Cynthia, you and I have to take our first break.
Cathryn.
I'm sorry, Cathryn.
It's the spelling. I get that a lot.
Oh, I'm sorry
Or I
about
get
that,
Carolyn.
Cathryn. Well, Caroline's my favorite granddaughter. So.
Oh, great.
There you go.
It's such a good name.
Yeah, it is. It is. She's a real sweetheart. Stand by. You and I have to take our first break, Cathryn.
Okay.
And XR Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Cathryn, visit her website, www.theconcordwriter.com or www.thethoreauwhisperer.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, same email address that I've had for 32 years doing this show. No, Huey Lewis, it's not. I want a new drug. It's www. No, that's a website. See what you're doing to me, Craig, when you misfire stuff on me? Let's try this again. Send me an email, xzone at Xzone Radio TV. I'm Rob McConnell. Whatever you do, don't go away. Welcome back, Cathryn. See, I said it right that time.
You did.
Yeah, there we go. Cathryn McIntyre is our special guest, X-Zone Nation. Her websites are www.theconcordwriter.com and thethoreauwhisperer.com. All right, curiosity. Who's Thoreau?
Henry David Thoreau, the great author of Concord, Massachusetts, the man who lived at in the cabin at Walden Pond and wrote the book Walden. He's a very famous American writer.
Okay.
So maybe in Canada they don't teach Thoreau. But, when you live in Concord, Mass., he's right up there next to God. So
now, if you would have said Stephen King, I would have said, oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the reasons that my book is so helpful, because not a lot of people want to read Thoreau's Walden these days, unless, of course, you live in Concord, then you read it every day. But my experience with him turned out to be just so amazing and wonderful. But there's so much in his work that's so worthwhile and so important. And I think that, it's like one of the big questions was, well, why would he be talking to you? And what's he doing back?
What is he doing? What is he doing talking to you? And why is he back?
Why is he back? Or why was he back? Well, I think the answer to that is he never goes away. He never went away, because we don't go away. We go into spirit.
Oh.
So his consciousness has continued, as all of us will continue. And so there's that. But, the whole pull to the Concord area, the pull to Boston, that was there from the beginning. When I first moved out here from Michigan, and it was in '84, I had spent the 4 years prior working at an oncologist's office in Lansing, Michigan, while I finished my degree at Michigan State. As soon as I was done with the degree, I was gone, and I was out here. one of the first things I did was have a psychic reading at a house near Walden Pond. And I realized years later, during the period of the channeling, that, it suddenly occurred to me that I had that reading. And I went looking for the tape I had of it, and I listened to it, and because I still had the tape 25 years later, whatever it was. And in that reading, they said to me, there's a man, there's a spirit here that wants to work with you. And, like wants to, whatever, communicate, work with you, write with you. And I had no idea at the time that it was Thoreau. And turns out it was. So it just took us a little over 20 years to finally make it happen, but that was like a cool thing. So
do you think that because you wanted to move from Michigan to Boston, and your connection with Thoreau, that this might have something to do with a past life that you had?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. And, I have to say yes. I mean, I definitely feel tied to this area, and like I came back here for a reason. I've had, I've heard some people speculate who I might have been. This is one of there was a local local school teacher who was famous for having drowned herself in the Concord River. And
well, hold on here.
She became a character in one of Nathaniel Hawthorne's books.
Hold on here. Let's turn this tape back a little bit. A teacher became famous because she drowned.
Well, she became famous because Hawthorne wrote about her. But her name was Martha Hunt.
All right.
She was a very intelligent, very determined young woman at a time when women were struggling to, have the right to do something other than become a mother.
Okay.
And so she was teaching school in Concord, and I guess one day she just was done, and she walked into the Concord River. Or it was the Sudbury River, was one of them. Anyway, and later Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was also spent some time living in Concord, he wrote about her in one of his books. He went out the night she drowned herself. They were looking for the body, and I think it was Ellery Channing, I'm not sure, but they went out in the boat and found her. And so he wrote about it. So I've had people tell me they think I was her. I'm not sure about that one. I'm still mulling that over. There's a possibility.
I can just imagine this. Hey, Val, what are you doing tonight? Well, why? What do you mean? Well, I heard somebody drowned in the river. Actually, she's a school teacher. She drowned, and what do you say? How about this for an idea? We're going to get a boat. Are you following me? And we're going to go look for the dead body. And then what I'm going to
remember when this happened. This was like in 1845 or something.
All right, so they didn't have a motorboat. They probably had a rowboat.
No, they had a little rowboat.
Okay.
And it happened out behind the old, the Old Manse, which is out near the North Bridge in Concord, where the battle for the independence was fought and all that. So, and that's where Hawthorne was living at the time at the Old Manse. So he got pulled into going and looking for the body in a little rowboat that he bought from Thoreau. So.
My goodness, it's just filled with history over there.
Yeah. It's just, the town is just full of history.
So when you communicate with Thoreau, how does it go? Like, does he come to you or do you go to him?
Well, he used to come to me. It was the way this started was, I eventually moved here and I joined the Thoreau Society, which is, very academically inclined group, and I love to announce I'm not an academic in any way, and I like it that way. And I met through the Thoreau Society Brad Dean, who had become famous because he edited and published Thoreau's unfinished manuscripts, manuscripts that didn't get done before he died. And I believe now that Brad was actually channeling Thoreau during that work, but that's a whole separate topic. But anyway, so he had done that, and I met Brad through the Thoreau Society. And in January 2006, like 11 days after Brad died, and before I knew he had died, Brad was in my dining room, and I was talking to him. And I saw him and communicated with him, and then I kind of blinked out of it, and I said to myself, you're crazy, because, it's what I'm taught to tell myself every time something like that happened. And I just kind of went to work, and at work I started digging around on the internet I was looking for a death notice for a neighbor who had died, and up popped an obit from my friend Brad, and that's how I learned he had died. And then so I learned that what had happened that afternoon actually had happened. And so then I went to see a psychic to help me connect with them. And, at that point I was still in my denial. I don't want to be a psychic. I don't want to have to deal with this stuff. Why am I this way? And so I, went to another psychic to help me connect. And in that connection, in that reading that day, I watched her do a formation like with her hands that I had seen him do. It was like exactly. She's like, "Oh, I see him doing this," and I'm like, "Oh my God, I saw him doing that." So I knew it was him. And she told me that day, she said, "Get ready, because in the fall, not only is Brad going to continue to work with you, but Thoreau is going to begin to talk to you as well." And he did.
My goodness.
It was amazing.
Geez, I'm going to have to check this out, Craig. Get our research people to check out who this Thoreau guy is. He's got his own society, for God's sake.
He's a big deal. I can't believe you don't know him. But, you're like the second Canadian person who has, looked at me in a strange way, like they had no idea who he was. So that's so funny.
I just got a message here from our satellite uplink center in White Springs, Florida. The engineer there is saying, "I never heard of this guy either."
Oh my gosh! Come on.
Oh.
I mean, he's been taught in the schools. At least when I was in high school, he was being taught in college.
Yeah, well, now in high school they teach you how to be a marksman and how to use guns and protect yourself from knives and everything else. Hey, do you do psychic readings yourself?
What's that?
Do you do psychic readings?
I used to do some astrology readings, but I really don't do psychic readings myself. I kind of don't like the responsibility of it, honestly.
Yeah, why I was asking was because if I was going to go to any psychic, I would go to you because I love your attitude.
Oh, thank you.
I just think you're a real cool person.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't, believe me, I've been doing this show 32 years and I very seldom say that to a guest.
I really appreciate that.
But you're honest, you're straightforward. You're not, there's no pretentious bone in your body.
Not one.
No.
I'm a girl from Detroit. I don't know what to say.
And I'll tell you something, Cathryn, before we go to this commercial break. If ever I go looking for a drowned person, I want you in that boat with me.
Okay, well, there's another theory as to who I might have been in Concord.
Oh, we'll have to take that on the other side of this news break. Please stand by.
Okay.
Exo Nation, our guest this hour is Cathryn McIntyre. What a great lady. And her website is theconcordwriter.com and the Thoreau Whisperer.com. I wonder if that's like a horse whisperer.
It's the same idea.
Okay.
I stole it.
You stole
the
There she goes.
Thing.
This is the honesty that I really admire in people.
It's a known thing
I
now.
stole
The
it.
ghost whisperer, the bird whisperer, whatever. I'm the Thoreau Whisperer.
All right, Thoreau Whisperer, we've got to take our break, so shh, here we go.
Okay.
She grew up on a wild mountain.
Welcome back to the X Zone. That's my good friend Michael J. McCurley from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and his group entitled Band from Heaven. Geez, I wonder why. Mike's a great guy. I had the pleasure of working with Mike when I was doing the voice tracking for Creepy Canada at his studios in Hamilton, and he's one of the guys who does a lot for the community there. So, Mike, hats off to you and your gang, and please give everyone my best. We're talking to Cathryn McIntyre this hour, and she is she's an astrologer. She also has had UFO experiences, ghosts, things that go bump in the night. She was on Expedition Bigfoot, I believe.
Oh, no. I was not on that show.
Oh.
I was interviewed by Ronny LeBlanc.
Wait a second. Why weren't you on the show?
I know.
What the hell is going on here? Bigfoot's never gone out into a river looking for a dead body.
He may have done that. We really need to get off that topic.
I think it's kind of cute. That's why.
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen these pictures of the what is it? The early 20s, the 1920s, 1930s, where they have this guy in a rowboat and this lady sitting in the back with a parasol.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just a romantic.
That's a better
heart.
image. Yeah.
Whenever I see that image, we've got a painting of that in our house, and whenever I see that, it reminds me when Laura and I, who's my wife, we were dating many years ago, prior to 6 kids and 15 grandchildren.
Goodness.
Yeah. We were at a lake, and she had the idea of let's go canoeing. Okay, we want to impress this beautiful lady that I kind of really like. So I'm up at the front of the canoe, and I'm paddling, and I'm saying, paddling, and I'm saying, this is kind of hard, And I look back at Laura, and she's sound asleep. Without the parasol. Anyway, I digress, as usual. So anyway, you were going to tell us about who you...
the other theory is kind of interesting.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of something called a composite soul?
Yes.
Okay. So you may have a better understanding of a composite soul than I do, but my general understanding is that it's a lifetime, let's say a body in a lifetime, and instead of being fueled by one soul, it gets like a bunch of them, because that life is going to be so profound and so memorable and so important that it needs more than one soul. Okay, something like that. That's my brief understanding. Does that sound like your understanding?
Yes, and I think you did a very good job at it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I was told by one psychic that he believed that I was one of several souls that made up the composite of Thoreau. That was Thoreau's head. Yeah.
You know what? I can believe that. I really can, because I've spoken to so many people when it comes to reincarnation that they are convinced that, some of them are convinced that from day one of our existence as a soul, that the people within our circle are with us throughout. So I can fully understand that.
Yeah, and the other one, he thought that Brad was as well, which makes sense, and why Brad and I felt the connection that we did to each other and then to Thoreau.
Yeah.
So I mean, this was a new concept to me when it was told to me, and I thought, well, maybe. I know there was really a strong tie for me with Thoreau and that whole life, but I wouldn't have described it that way myself. But that's it was a revelation that felt real to me when I was told it. So it's interesting.
It is. So you're a believer of reincarnation?
Yes, absolutely. In my first book called Honor and Concord, which I published kind of in the midst of the channeling, it was the one I was working on when it all started. I write about the writers of Concord's past. So we're talking, Thoreau, which I want to just mention quickly. The other thing Thoreau is famous for is Civil Disobedience, his essay. I mean, surely you've heard, you hear people refer to civil disobedience all the time. That's, based on Thoreau's essay by that name. where he, promotes the notion of peaceful demonstration, basically, and standing up.
Yeah. No, I'm
all that stuff. That's where he's also famous. All right, so moving right along. So he was from Concord, and Ralph Waldo Emerson, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Louisa May Alcott, author of Little Women. Surely you've heard of that. These are all like the major players in the mid-19th century Concord. That's the other big cluster of history here and profoundness. And it comes from those people. And in my first book, I wrote them in as characters living in Concord in present day. And I have windows that open up in their lives in the past. So I'm doing this little play on reincarnation or parallel lives. And it was a lot of fun to write. It's a fun book.
You're a fun lady.
Thank you.
What was...
I am fun.
I believe you are. I really believe you are. As a channel, I guess you are a channel since you channel these people. Did you find any difference? And I'm being serious here because I've this was brought to my attention that during the COVID, the height of the COVID, when people were locked in, that many channels and mediums found that the clarity between this side and that side was crystal clear.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Did you experience that?
Not so much,
No,
but I mean, a little sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have moments of it, but then what I tend to pick up on is a lot of the chaos and the fear and all that stuff that gets churned up, and I find that kind of disruptive, and
So are these people the only people that you challenge? Channel?
No, no. Well, I mean, I've channeled Thoreau and a little bit of Emerson.
Right.
And then other ways I would say I connect psychically with a lot of, again, it comes back to consciousness for me. So when you have that ability, and let's just say this. At one point, I was told by my favorite psychic that they were she's like, they're lining up for you. They're like getting in line. They all want to talk to you, because I have this ability. They can't wait. And I'm over here like, you know what? I got other things to do. So I'm a little reluctant to carry on like this and do another book like this or, whatever. So I kind of comes and goes. But if I get really interested in a certain person, let's say, and I start to research them a lot and I read a lot about them, I get their attention. Let's just put it that way. So
Right.
I have channeled a few other people briefly, just because I kind of took an interest in them and focused that way.
So when would you say the first time was that you channeled Henry David Thoreau?
I think I was getting little blips of him over the years and not really realizing it was him. But when I really knew it was him was in the fall after that prediction had taken place.
Right.
And that was like in November of 2006.
When you saw his picture for the first time, was there any connection?
Totally.
Really, yeah?
When I was a kid, I had this author's deck. And I swear now that I know it had Hawthorne in it. And I thought I had a picture of Thoreau in there, but I think he may have been in a book I had. But I would draw into these authors that were from Concord, and in the author's deck, I remember pulling Louisa May Alcott out, I'd pull Hawthorne out, and it was just this focus. So, when I thought of it in later years, I was like, oh my God, I was pulling out the writers of Concord. I didn't even know at the time that's what I was doing, but that's what I was doing. And definitely a very strong pull toward Thoreau when I saw his picture. And
I must say, I love one of his sayings: "Rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth."
Give me truth. Yeah.
Fascinating. You and I have to go to our commercial break for the final segment of the show in about 30 seconds from now. When you're communicating with him. No, let me go a little step for change this. When the first time you went to Concord, did you feel at home?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I write about that in my first book too. It's really about the arrival.
Yeah.
I came out here visiting. I came over from Michigan, and then like in 2 years before I moved, so it was like 82. And I immediately came to Concord, and it was like coming home. It was just like, wow, I recognize this place. I belong here.
All right, we've got to take our final break, so please stand by. And Exo Nation, once again, Cathryn McIntyre is my very special guest. And I must tell you, Cathryn, that I'm thoroughly enjoying this hour with you. So thank you very much for joining us.
You too.
All right,
Thanks so
Exo
much.
Nation, Cathryn and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Something in your eyes makes me wanna lose myself. Makes me wanna lose myself in your arms. There's something in your voice makes my heart beat fast. Hope this feeling lasts the rest of my life. If you knew how lonely my life has been, and how long I've been so alone. And if you knew how I wanted someone to come along and change my life the way you've done. It feels like home to me. It feels like home to me. It feels like I'm all the way back where
And welcome back, everyone. Cathryn McIntyre is our special guest, and that was from Craig, because before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about, the first time that Cathryn went to Concord, and she felt so at home. So Craig, in his infinite wisdom, and let's call it that for now, decided to play Home to Me. So I thought that was a pretty good pick. What did you think, Cathryn?
That was lovely. Very nice. I don't think I've heard that before. It was
Wow.
a really nice song. Very pretty.
See, you haven't heard that one, and I have never heard of Thoreau until now, and I've been checking him out. He's a very impressive person.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Or was, yes.
Well,
Indeed.
he still is, because you talk to him, you communicate with
I
him.
do, and he still is, and
Yeah.
so is everyone.
So, taking your example of the wonderful work that you've done, the communicating, the books you've written, how would you guide people who are listening right now, who are thinking, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could communicate with somebody that would be able to work with me like Thoreau works on you. How did you, any idea or any suggestions?
I think, well, I don't know. I think everybody has this ability,
Yeah.
and if this was something you felt compelled to pursue and hadn't done a lot of it naturally, you might want to seek out somebody to help kind of
Mentor?
teach you
Yeah.
how to do it if, you need to be taught. And, do it that way. But I guess what I want to say is, Thoreau didn't just come to me for me. I mean, he came to me for, could I do him a favor and get this message out to the world? So, this is what it's about.
Okay.
And really the message, just, to put it in the simplest terms, it is very timely. And that, I used to say, why is he doing this? Why? What's the big deal? Why does he keep coming back to this? And then the times began to happen a couple of years ago, and I began to realize why. And it is, really the simple method of go within. Trust yourself. Trust your conscience. All of Thoreau's teachings are about we live on, the consciousness survives death. Trust always in your conscience and what that tells you to do. Connect within to divinity. We are divine. We are, connect to the source. And always trust your instincts. Always trust your intuition. And when you do that, when you align to truth, when you align to God, and you align in that way, and I mean God in any concept you want to have of him, but the divine source we're all from, then you can decipher the truth from the lies that are swirling around you. And that's the only way. I'm on Twitter, and I put up a thing of my book, and I put these words with it, and I think they're really important, so I'm going to read them. Amid the madness of the present time, have you forgotten that you are timeless? Have you forgotten the power that you have within you? And, that's Thoreau's message. And that's what it's like, why was this happening at the time that it was? Why were they so intent on getting this book written and getting this message out and reaching a wider audience than, 01742, Concord zip code? That's why, because that's a really important message and really important thing to get right now in the present time.
It is very important. So can we say that Thoreau was your co-author in this?
Oh, yeah. This was what I did. At a certain point, I was like, can I just say, okay, this is what he said, semicolon, whatever, colon, and drop it all in. And it was like, that's going to be really difficult for anybody to decipher or read or want to read. So I felt like I had to tell the story with my own story as sort of an extension of what the first book was. Because the first book was me saying, okay, here I am in Concord. I've come out because this is where I always wanted to be and I felt connected to. And I'm a psychic and I'm walking around and I'm being bombarded with images of the past. And so what am I going to do? I sit down, I start to record them, becomes a fictional story. I have the writers from the past, present, yada, yada. Then this book became the continuing story of that narrator that I was in that first book because, I was the reluctant psychic, and I'm trying to come to terms with my abilities. And then by the time I get back, I leave at the end of the first book, and when I return is when the second book starts. And now it's time, now I've got Brad's died, and I've talked to him, and they're telling me Thoreau's going to start talking to me. And it's time I have to face my abilities. I have to get good at them because I need to maintain this connection. Not only do I not want to lose touch with Brad, who I, really cared about and didn't want to lose, but I now have this opportunity to connect with this very famous, very important person in history who wants to repeat his message and make sure it's heard. So
if Thoreau was your co-author, I guess we can call him a real ghostwriter.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So anyway, so that's the story of the book. So what I did is I wrote the story of myself again and how it happened. So and then within that I present his words. So it's kind of quirky and funny, and it's a little bit of me being who I am, and then just saying, because, I couldn't, if I just walk up to somebody and say, well, hey, I channel Thoreau, they're like, oh, yeah, sure you do. And I'm like, well, let me tell you how it happened, and let me tell you why I think it happened, and let me tell you what I did to confirm it for myself, because every step of the way, I doubted it. So that's what the book's about.
How could you doubt it, though?
Well, just because I was raised doubting everything, single thing that ever happened.
That's horrific.
So,
I feel bad for you. I really do.
Well, no, I've overcome it.
but there are so many children in this world today who still face that negativity.
Yeah, I know.
And it is so wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like
hard.
with all our
It's really
children,
hard.
we encouraged them in everything they did. You know, I remember our youngest daughter, Belinda, bringing me up a package of toilet paper, saying, "Daddy, this is my new invisible friend." You know, she was about 4 years old. I said, "Well, that's
Yeah.
nice, sweetheart. How did you meet?" "Oh, downstairs. She was in the closet." And so, what are you going to say? "You're nuts, kid. It's a roll of toilet paper, for God's sake. Costco has a warehouse full of it." No, we always believed that.
It's good that you believed. She
Yeah.
may have just you sort of brought the toilet paper just to say, just so she had something to show,
Right.
because she couldn't show the invisible friend. I am somebody who had invisible friends as a kid too. I have two older sisters who still tease me about my invisible friends, but they weren't invisible to me. I'm sure they were there.
Yeah. I believe that children have the ability to see an entire spectrum that we are
Yes.
weaned off of by society. And it's the children who have the ability, like yourself, to hold on to that spectrum and not let people feed them filled with negativity
Yeah.
that are people who are as gifted as you are.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's really true. You have to let the truth out with the kids. You have to listen, because they know stuff.
That's right.
Yeah,
Cathryn,
they're seeing stuff.
Cathryn, the time has come when you and I must say so long. I want to thank you ever so much. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. I wish
Thank
you
you.
much success. And
you.
please let our listeners know where they can find out more about you and where they can get your books.
Okay. Well, the books are available really on Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the internet booksellers would have it, and really any local bookstore should be able to order it. And both books actually, but
Your
the
website.
Thoreau Whisperer is the latest one, and it's an ebook as well as paperback. And Honor in Concord is still available. It may be coming out as an ebook soon. I'm trying to make up my mind if I want to do it again or not. That's kind of a long story with that, but and my website is, like you said, theconcordwriter.com and thethoreauwhisperer.com. And I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn.
All right. Take care of yourself, Cathryn.
Thank you so much.
And you just have a wonderful day. And please do the world a favor and never change, because you are truly a blessing.
Thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate it.
You take care and keep smiling, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone.
Sounds great. Thank
Good night
you so
now.
much.
X Zone Nation, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada.